In May 2018, the President signed into law the Economic Growth, Regulatory Relief, and Consumer Protection Act, or EGRRCPA. From this act created opportunities intended to provide regulatory relief for smaller community banks. Provisions include changes in simplified capital rules, holding company threshold change, high volatility commercial real estate, qualified mortgages, escrow, Home Mortgage Disclosure Act, waiting periods on credit offers, audit exam cycles, Volcker, and call report forms. All of these changes are intended for smaller banks to better serve their communities. Town Bank is a $2 billion bank owned by Wintrust Bank. John Hazard is the current CFO of the bank and has been with Town Bank since 2016.
Town Bank is a bank located, headquartered in Heartland, Wisconsin. We are about a $2.3 billion financial institution. The bank started back in 1998 as a local community bank in the Waukesha County market. And during the first 4 years of existence, the bank grew in primarily the local market. In 2004, the bank made a strategic decision to join a larger organization and was merged with Wintrust Financial Corporation. Wintrust Financial Corporation is a multi-bank holding company located in Rosemont, Illinois. Today, Wintrust is about a $32 billion asset institution that oversees and owns 15 different financial institutions, primarily in the Midwest region. Town Bank then began its expansion under the Wintrust Holding Company from 2004 through today. During that time frame, Town Bank has, through its Wintrust Holding Company, acquired 4 other financial institutions following the recessionary period back in 2008 and 2009. Today, Town Bank operates with 26 branches located all through southern part of Wisconsin, primarily in the Milwaukee market. We are a commercial bank that focuses on business banking, as well as middle market lending, as well as community banking. So we have 3 different banking segments that focuses on businesses that are primarily operating and managed by individuals and companies in the Milwaukee area. The bank also has an agricultural portfolio that primarily handles a lot of agricultural lending on the western side of the state of Wisconsin. And we're looking to continue to grow. It's a bank that's based in the Milwaukee market. We've really made a significant impact in the last year or two in the Milwaukee market, trying to grow larger size companies, entering a space that provides us opportunities into, again, companies with sales over $20 million. We've added several new commercial lending staff to the team, and we look forward to continuing to build the bank as we move forward here in the next couple of years. It's a positive step in allowing financial institutions to reduce its regulatory burden. There are several positive impacts from that. One is the cost of regulations is very significant in the banking industry today, so that would be a positive to the bank. Secondly, having regulatory reductions is a good thing from a standpoint of it gives us abilities to focus on other key components in the marketplace. Obviously, the regulatory side of things is very important to banks, and it's important that regulations are in place and that the system is built to provide safeties and safeguards and safe nets for the industry and its depositors. But there has got to be a balance between the amount of regulations and how much cost and time is spent towards being compliant with those regulations. So in my opinion, it's a good step in the right direction to begin the process of easing up on some of the more regulations that maybe aren't as meaningful to the industry that were put in place over the years. We are impacted on a positive perspective on a couple items. One being shortening the call report. Obviously, having less reporting is a beneficial impact to the bank from the standpoint of timing and complexity of generating reports to complete for the regulatory agencies on a quarterly basis. The fact that most of the call reports are automated, there's not a significant dollar impact to it, but there is a benefit to the amount of time that's spent building the call report on a quarterly basis. The exam cycle changes are beneficial to the bank, given our institution's size and profile. Extending out the exam cycle is beneficial from the standpoint of, again, preparing and managing an examination takes a lot of time and effort. And so if we can extend that cycle where the frequency of exams are shortened over a period of years, that's beneficial to the bank as well. On the qualified mortgage rules, easing the rules does help us and allows us to look at maintaining and keeping more portfolio mortgages on our books. So there's a positive to that. The other key components of the relief bill really don't have a significant impact to us from a standpoint of capital ratios and other key components. Our institution generally maintains a fairly strong capital ratio, and changes to the regulation really won't change our posture on maintaining those ratios at historical levels. So we don't see a significant impact from the changes from the regulations to how we operate at our capital levels for the bank. The other important thing to note is we are owned by a larger holding company, Wintrust Financial Corp. So some of the changes to the regulations are handled at our holding company level and not at the bank level. So the true financial impact at the bank here probably is more seen at the holding company than it is at the subsidiary bank, which is the bank that we're operating here in Wisconsin Town Bank. It's important that I think we continue to look to reduce the amount of regulatory burden on not only most financial institutions, but squarely on the community bank financial institutions. Typically smaller banks have a challenge in meeting both the demands of compliance with regulations and also the increased reporting that's been built over the last few years. So if the regulatory burdens can continue to be eased in the future, it would be beneficial, because the community banks then could focus in on doing more lending in their local area, spurring economic growth in those communities, and continue building its customer base. Also, if you look at a lot of the regulations regarding money laundering and other effects that a lot of the government has pushed down into the banks to do the monitoring for, it's been beneficial from a standpoint of obviously the importance of maintaining security in the country, but that burden continues to be a challenge for community banks to be able to meet those requirements, again, from just cost and resource and allocation of their staff. And then in terms of legislation going forward, in the community bank segment, one of the biggest competitors on the retail side are credit unions in our industry, and specifically in Wisconsin, there's a significant number of credit unions. Obviously, banks continue to face the uphill battle of competing from a standpoint of pricing on both loans and deposits, given the fact that the credit unions are exempt from income taxes. So that continues to play and will play as a significant challenge for banks to continue to try to build its market share in the place when you're competing against those credit unions in and around your branch locations. So overall, I think continued regulatory burden should be reduced. However, it's important that we reduce the proper regulations, because banks should have regulatory oversight on them and should be governed by good practices and sound fundamentals of lending and all other aspects of the banking industry.